It's Spoilerin time, the sister show to Cordkillers. On Cordkillers, we tell you how to watch. On Spoilerin time, we've watched the stuff and we get the fun of talking about it and saying what we think. This week, episode 7 of season 2 of Dirk Gently, season 2, episode 7 of Counterpart, episode 12, season 3 of The Good Place, the season finale. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, and as always, we need to check in on our winter movie draft, find out who's the winner and who's the loser. It's time to crown the winner. Congratulations, Team John Trekker, coming in with $643 million. Glass bringing in money, still maintaining #1 over the last weekend at the box office. Also, they got Serenity, which is being savaged by the critics, but I assume, making more than $- And all I need one more week is for them to have $43 million, and then I will be set to overtake them with only $600 million. Third place, DTNS, $570 million. Justin, Team 477, Cordkillers at 379, Nicole at 268. Are we out of releases? Is that all she wrote?
Yeah, that's it. But now we're just waiting for the 4-week grace period to finish.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no movers or shakers. A Star is Born theoretically could get a minor
little Oscar, but
they reopen it, but
I don't think it's going to happen. Also, it keeps on happening. Hold on, this is very curious to me. It looks like the ordering has gotten mixed up on the chat realm. Oh, sorry, that's the last 100. There we go.
That's right.
Tied for first place in the chat realm league. Oh. Movie League, Mike and Travis made me do it. This is the first time we've had a two-way tie, I do believe. Oh, that's phenomenal.
And I believe there should be an insider trading investigation into Movie League Mike. His coverage of the league for years, obviously, is giving him an unfair advantage. So I call for the investigators to look closely at this win before declaring it a tie.
Agreed.
Well, even the second place, even if for some reason Movie League Mike and Travis don't keep first place, there are 4 people tied for the next rank.
Wow.
Incredible.
Well, I'm glad that Glass broke through that Brian ceiling.
Hey, man, you want to talk a little bit about The Good Place?
Yeah. So how crazy was this week where many things that you said and even a few things that I said became plot elements in this episode.
Well, what's funny is, when we're doing this show, we just sort of, talk off the top of our heads and I don't really think about it again. And so I had totally forgotten all of our predictions by the time we went there. So I enjoyed every twisted turn by the time I got around to watching it. And it wasn't until somebody on Twitter called us out. They're like, well, you guys nailed it. What, did you have a script or something?
No, this is kind of very obvious.
And it was done in a different way than we said, right? Like, not everybody lost their memory. Just Chidi is going to lose his memory, right? And yet we did have a lot of those elements of surprise and fun. And Eleanor taking over, running the town, I think is a great move. I've been super enjoying seeing where they go to keep this fresh, and I feel like, wow, this is a really good way to keep it fresh. The one new resident that we've gotten to know so far is horribly dislikable, setting it up to seem impossible that they could pull this off. Yeah,
and on top of that, the whole setup, number one, the moment Michael comes out and be like, oh, I put together a little something for you. I'm like, you sons of bitches, you're going to do it, aren't you? And then sure enough, the waterworks start flowing because it's like, you realize, like, it's not just that these two characters fall in love or whatever. It's like, we have spent 3 years with these guys and we watched all of this happen. And it shone a spotlight on how much memories matter and in a continuous, like he's technically not going anywhere and it's still going to be him, but it's like, also he's definitely, like, for real dying. He will be a different person. And it's very clear that we're going to have an agonizing time watching him discover and fall in love with his ex-girlfriend right in front of Eleanor. It's going to be insane. I think it was a brilliant move on their part. I hate them for it, and that's how I know it's good storytelling.
Well, I can't wait for the eventual end where Chidi falls in love with Eleanor right as she loses her memories because of some other plot development.
Well, and also keep in mind, it's they could do something where it's like, I think I'm Michael. I came out of the laboratory and I think I have a solution. I made 2 Cheaties. One has the restored memories and the other does not. And I'm like, oh, Cheaty. I mean, it's like, I don't
put Cheaty's old memories in a Janet.
Exactly, right? It's like I trust them. I trust them. They can go anywhere and do anything, and I will be all in.
So how far does that trust carry for you? Because I really enjoyed the finale, and we called it with the architect stuff, we called it with the X stuff, but I couldn't help have this just thought in the back of my head that was like, oh, we're really going back and starting all over again, huh? Like that's the only thing is like I give me a lot of different like conceits, give me a lot of different ideas and places and like environments and stuff, but we're starting back at square one again.
This is
over with character. You hate them.
Well, no. So here's what. Okay, maybe this will make you feel better. I can easily picture a version where we never see the town again, like where everything is.
I would love that. I would love it if we skip to the end of this, like.
No, or better yet, like just maybe stuff is unfolding, opening scene. Eleanor surrounded by paperwork, looks up, says, "How did Michael deal with this?" Michael comes in and you're like, "Oh, I used to do this trick or whatever." And then Tahani comes in and you're like, "Okay, like what day are we on?" And you're like, "Oh, we're on day 47. They're on this thing," and it's all in the background. And the real story is what's happening with them. And then the judge shows up and they're having an argument and they're on adventures. And then like whatever, like just because the framework looked like episode 1 doesn't mean we're going back to episode 1.
You talking that out, I feel qualified to call the end of season 4. Season 4 is
okay, great. Wait, we're gonna call it.
I absolutely can call it now. The judge will decide. Yes, the judging has been wrong. Humans can be rehabilitated, and now Eleanor and Michael. And probably Chidi, because he's got ethics training, are in charge of making humans better once they die. Oh. And that is going to be the end of season 4. I'm calling it today, January 28th, 2019.
It's the they create
because we can't keep doing the judge thing.
The brand new Department of Rehabilitation is like, so this is purgatory, or it's like you go to ethics school or whatever.
The good people.
Okay.
Thought.
Yeah. Okay, so Bryce's call is end of season 4. Eleanor, Michael, et al. Are in charge of making humans better after they die.
Yeah, and it's now this is a brand new program. It's day 1 of class.
Right?
Can we do it?
Yeah, it's like they wake up. It's like the normal like wake up scene, but they're in like one of those little half desks.
Yeah,
from
school. They're like, good news, you're a candidate. It's like driver's ed, basically, to get into heaven.
Janet doing an instructional video with like a click slide. Yeah.
Oh my God, how great was the performance and casting by the insufferable blogger guy.
So good. So good.
It was amazing. Really enjoyed that whole episode. I thought it was very funny and yes, cheesy, but also just heart-wrenching. It was amazing.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Counterpart, which I felt like after I really enjoyed seeing the origin story last week, kind of slowed back down and ground along. Although we definitely got plot developments with Quayle quitting and saying he's going to leave right as his wife is being lured to rejoin her compatriots, whom she misses but knows have had an entirely different life, and she's kind of jealous of them.
Yeah, well, and seeing Quayle, number one, that opening scene where Quayle's covering his tracks, that is a dude who has covered his tracks for a very long time and lies effortlessly figuring out the right narrative to go with and everything, and everything's tied up in a neat little package. To me, the scene of the show was the moment where we're in a very confusing place with Quayle and his wife. I forget her name, but
Emily. Sorry, not Emily. Shoot.
It's not Mira because she's on the other side. She's the terrorist leader. Anyway, whatever. Quayle and his wife are in a weird, conspiratorial place, but then all of a sudden there's that hijack moment. Claire, that's right, where Claire's dad just can't handle it because part of the cover story. So you have two people, both of whom are not telling the truth. So they, all of the horrible stuff that Claire's dad is saying, kind of, you could tell, bounces off Quayle, because he's like, well, I don't care because I didn't, whatever it is he's mad about, I didn't even do. So whatever. But both characters lying and defending a story that never happened to a person that is not who he thinks he is to them was fascinating to me, especially when he finally got Claire's goat and we find her standing up for Quayle, and then and Quayle's just like, no, don't. And I don't know. I really adored that because I felt humanity from Claire that I've not been able to feel up until this point, just because she was grown since childhood to to murder her own self and step into the life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and she you could tell she's like, oh, so you guys have all just been together without me this whole time? I'm not okay with that. I'm not happy with that. So where they think she's one of them, I don't think she feels she's one of them, and that could drive her closer to Quayle, especially as he quits, and they might start their own little mini faction there. Yeah.
Meanwhile, our Howard Silk finally has the moment that I think we were expecting since episode 1. I kind of wish there was like, I don't know what was so different about this time that of him getting kicked around that he finally was done with it. But, after 75 getting kicked around, he was like, well, that was the one that was too many. I'm done. And there was a good Mexican standoff as far as it goes, and resolved rather quickly with everybody ambiguously not necessarily dead. But I am happy to see progress on our Howard side.
Yeah, and I think we're leading to a really good episode, hopefully next week, maybe the week after, where we start to see some real progress. I feel like the reason they showed us the flashback is we're going to bring management back together. We're going to see a management reunion at some point in the future. Yeah, I did like the fact that they didn't take the same actors and put prosthetics on them or whatever. Like, they're all different actors. They've clearly aged a lot. I also liked getting a glimpse and a reminder that management, what we were perceiving as this horrific otherworldly mega brain or something, in fact, are just people living normal lives who need to keep this role sequestered. It was very humanizing. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Oh, we also got a sense of the mistrust of the new sheriff in town for the other Howard. And the fact that she's just called him out, I'll be like, man, whatever you're saying, I don't believe it. Yeah, and Howard's coming for Quayle now, which is going to be an interesting conversation, because maybe they can convince Howard Prime to come over to their newly formed faction. Who knows? Yeah. All right. Anything else on Counterpart? No, not on my end. Still enjoying it. It is. All the threads are getting more and more complicated to recall, and I am increasingly thankful for the previously on vignettes beforehand, and they are very good about going out of their way to take some of the more minor points and remind you, like almost to the exclusion of like they don't even remind you of any of the major stuff. All they do, like you can watch this episode, especially almost all the previously on stuff. I was like, man, I don't remember that at all, or that. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you reminded me of all those things going into this episode, because they were all important. All right, let's get on to Dirk Gently, which is kind of a little farther down the road, even though it is also the 7th episode of season 2. We are fully in Windemore now. We have reunited Amanda and Todd, sort of, on a bridge, and we definitely are being led to believe that Dirk Gently, if not the boy, is the solution that everyone is looking for. And Dirk himself seems to have finally cracked it at the end of this episode. Oh man, I didn't put that together that Dirk was the boy. I don't think he's necessarily the boy, but on the bridge, everyone's like, Dirk Gently, you want Dirk Gently? I want Dirk Gently. Like, it's very clear that if Dirk showed up, that he would be the thing that would resolve all of this.
Yes.
of course, he's not there because he's tied up at the moment.
Well, although he does get loose at the end, but specifically, like they've been mentioning the prophecy. Everybody knows the prophecy about Dirk Gently, so that's why everybody would know him. It sounds like that opening vignette. They make sure to show that like, okay, there's a kid when whatever he dreams comes true with that dragon thing and so on. I think it's implied. If I was going to guess where it sounds like they're headed, is that boy. I would be curious to go back to the hospital scenes because I'm betting that there is somebody just in a coma in the background of all that, and then they cut over like he got knocked on the noggin 40 years ago and has kept Wendemore alive ever since, and maybe
there's the guy at Blackwing who's asleep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, shoot. Yeah. All right. Then it doesn't have to be at the hospital. Good point.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking is that's the boy.
Yeah. That's, and of course, Dirk would know that because he was at Blackwing and he'll put it together. Okay. And then that'll bring back the Blackwing thread to have a reason to go back and do some heist to get a Jeep job from.
Although when Dirk was told to find the boy and he was just right across the hall, it seems like, couldn't you just said, go across the hall?
Could be. I continue to dig the aesthetics of it. I enjoyed seeing them speed up, making a credible threat out of what's her name, the spellcasting lady.
Oh yeah.
We're the best at names. But I enjoyed the ridiculousness of her duct tape hand to all of a sudden like, no, I'm in charge. I'm going to be your queen. This is all for reals happening. I also like, and again, we'll never know because this is the end of this incarnation of Dirk Gently, but they sort of have set up the idea that every season will be a bunch of threads that will each be interesting in and of themselves, make no sense, but there'll be some moment at the end where Dirk will solve the case. And by solve the case, we mean explain in a credible way to the home audience why all of these things are related and make sense and consistent in one world with the rules that they're putting. It's a bummer that this is the last time we're going to get to see it now that we recognize that's the pattern of the show.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see a few more iterations on that and see if they could keep it going. But on the other hand, having, in my opinion, done it pretty well in season 1 and really well in season 2, we'll never see them do it bad.
Well done. They batted 1,000.
Anything else on Dirk Gently?
No, outside of is next episode the last episode, I assume? It certainly felt like it with that setup. I suppose I could look this up myself.
There are 10 episodes in season 2.
Oh, wow. So we got some time then. We got 3 full episodes, so then in this case, he solves the crime and then that sets up the heist to get the boy in the outside world and then everything's resolved. And then plus also remember last time they, if we follow the pattern of last season, like this will be the reveal, then there'll be an episode of them making everything right. And then they'll spend the last episode setting up a thing that will never go anywhere.
Well, that is what would be heartbreaking, right? If this just ends the storyline, that's not so bad. You can pretend like, well, they only had 2 seasons. But if it sets up something that we'll never get to see, that'll suck.
Yeah, that'll be agonizing.
All right. Well, what is not agonizing is you supporting us on Patreon. That is the opposite of agonizing. That is gonizing, because A means not gonizing. So gonize us, folks. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cordkillers. And thanks to all of you who already do. You get these episodes early. And as we mentioned in Cordkillers, we might have a little Game of Thrones Deadpool thing going on in spoiler time in the future. We'll let you know as we develop that. Thanks for watching or listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.